It's Lisa here at VL Speaks, and it's not just VL speaking. It's VL Speaks with its very first guest, Sanaa Abourezk. Hello, Sanaa.
Oh, hello.
So Sanaa we've already gone through an official interview on skillful living and artful life, which is the sister podcast to this. But Sanaa and I wanted to come together here to have a conversation because our conversations are great. And we are going,
Very
what?
interesting. Our conversations are very interesting.
They are very interesting. Always interesting. Very insightful, thoughtful, philosophical, funny.
Just like us.
Exactly. So we thought,
Humble too. Very humble too.
yeah, and we're humble too. Yeah. So hopefully we're not going to be talking over to each other too much. But we thought this was a perfect time for her to come on to VL Speaks because we have so much fun when we have our chats. She is in South Dakota, and I am in the Northeast. So we have yet to be together under the same roof, but we're going to do it, and we're going to dance when we see each other. Okay, because I'm going to introduce you now. So how about what?
I'm behaving.
Not too much. Don't behave too much. Women behaving badly can be fun. But Sanaa Abourezk, really, we became friends first, but we met because of Instagram. We met because of Ayesha Nurdjaja. And Sanaa is an executive chef and a restaurant owner in, wait for it, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And the specialty is Mediterranean food. And these people love her there. She's been there over 20 years. And so she inspired me, which is how we got to talking and we became friends. And then once we started talking, it was like a house on fire, right?
Absolutely.
Pretty much. So I feel like we're family already. We're soul family. And so I figured we'd start with who our first influencers were as women in our lives.
You want me to go first?
Yes.
So, of course, my mother, you can't help but because that's the first female face you see, the first female that nurtured you, took care of you. And my mom was amazing, strong woman. Very strong woman. Opinionated, sarcastic, witty. I hope sharp tongue.
Sharp tongue.
Her comment. And I'm her firstborn. But cooking-wise, I would say my grandmother. My mother was an excellent cook, but I think my first introduction to the love of the smell and cooking was when my grandmother, because she would make fresh cheese from scratch. The bread, they had special oven, so in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, she started the dough the day before. And so every time actually anybody barbecue or bake, the smell immediately make me think of my grandmother. Although my mother was better, but not from scratch like my grandmother.
Right. Yeah. And so you watched them and that let you know, like, okay, they taught you by their behavior, I guess, on how to
Yeah, my mom, because she wanted me to be a doctor or an engineer, she would push me out of the kitchen. And go study, and she loved to cook. And she didn't want anybody in her kitchen. And by the way, I'm like her. I don't like, when I'm cooking, I don't want anybody in my kitchen or talking to me because I go into my zone. And it kind of irritates me when somebody tries to ask me a question while I'm cooking. So I'm in a way exactly like my mom. But in summertime, when it's vacation time, we go to the seashore area. And that's where the village where my grandparents. In the early morning, I will walk 2 kilometers. So it's like 1.5 miles. just to watch my grandma cooking, and she would enjoy it, let me taste. So I think that's how both of them affected me differently.
Right, right. And how do you think that I mean, I can tell you that my mother also got us out of the kitchen when we were young. It was like, no, I was like, I want to learn. Get out. And she was the kind of person that could cook a meal. She wouldn't even really taste it very much, which was interesting. And nothing was measured. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think that's, in my opinion, that's a sign of a good chef.
Like you
My,
don't you don't
I
really
don't,
measure. Yeah.
no, no, I never, never, never. Even when I make a cake, honestly, I, mhm, sometimes it turns out fantastic, sometimes, but yeah, everything in my restaurant never measured. That's why sometimes when I wrote my cookbook, it drove me nuts because I had to measure.
Yeah. Yeah. I when I bake, I have to measure, but my mother was very good at following it to a T. So her crust, when she would make a pie, her crust would be perfect, and I would be going crazy trying to replicate her, the way she made crust. But yeah, my mother could make anything taste good. You'd be like, "Oh, there's nothing to eat," and then she'd look in the fridge and be like, "What do you mean?" She'd have onion, garlic, some rice, this, that, vegetables. Before you knew it, she had a meal for not only the immediate family, but whoever was over. You know, she would just feed everybody. And I'm sure it's the same in your culture as well.
And actually, for me, I still do the same. When anybody come to, even to the restaurant or to the house, my neighbor make fun of me. They come in, and whenever I'm cooking, I said, "You want to take some? Take some." And you say, "No, no." So I said, "No, I really make me feel good." It's for us sharing the meal. That's mean you build. I would say not a bridge, but you build connection.
Yes,
They think now you broke bread.
right. Yeah, and feeding someone, I think in most cultures is like the greatest sign of kindness and generosity to share your
Absolutely,
food.
to
Yeah.
cook for them. Not to invite them to restaurant, but when you invite them to your home and cook for them, that's really an honor.
Yes. 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 And my mother, she didn't like us to throw away food. Even if it was like, if we saw something, we were like, oh, this already has spots on it. And she'd be like, give me that. We can still use that. I'll just cut that out. I'll cut that out of the potato or whatever it was. She never liked wasting food.
Yeah,
That
my
was the
mom
biggest thing.
said her dream was to have leftovers. She had 5 kids, and my dad always invited people, so she never had leftovers. Sometimes she would cook for lunch and for dinner because lunch is a big meal for us. And so we never had something to throw away.
Oh, wow. So she had to cook every day.
Oh yeah. Even when we had big farm, and my dad will have helpers and we fed everybody. So she would cook all these big pots, huge. And then we all sit around, different tables. So I mean, I think that's how I, come to think of it now. I mean, that's why I love my restaurant when it's noisy because it kind of remind me of my dad's farm, when everybody ate.
Right. Yeah. Did your dad cook too?
He tried a couple times, and my sister, who's a clean freak, and I'm like my mom, but my mom a little bit less so. It drove them crazy because my dad, every pot, everything is on the floor, flour here. So that was once, never again.
Yeah. My dad would cook when we were younger, but he was very methodical when he cooked. Maybe that's the linear part of his brain. But I remember the the man that I was first engaged to, that man could cook and he could bake. He could taste something in a restaurant and duplicate it.
You have females, I mean persons, and give them the recipe and watch them, and they still mess it up. And you have males or females who they smell the food and they can tell you what's in it. So that's
Incredible. Yeah. Yeah. But never wasting food and always sharing it. Those were the two biggest things.
I'm there. I refuse to throw away food. And I
Yes.
think that's one of our saving grace in the restaurant, that we survived and we kept profitable because No food waste, no food waste. If we have extra food like today, I just share it with the neighbors. I share it. My staff first take. So whatever they want to take is theirs first. What they don't want to take, sometimes they're sick and tired from my soups or my chicken. So they want to, I package it and give it to the neighbors.
Nice. Like the neighboring businesses, you mean, or at home?
Both. Yeah.
Lucky. I'd love to be your neighbor. I wouldn't have to cook.
If you share a meal, at the same time, you're not wasting food. People are starving around the world, and then for us to, it's not acceptable to me.
My mother used to say that to us all the time. There are children starving all over the world. You can't waste anything, and you have to be generous with what you have. You have to share.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be
Yeah.
greedy with everything, actually. I would say that's one of the biggest things that she taught me was generosity.
Yeah, for us,
And she
yeah,
taught it to me like by being an example. It
exactly.
wasn't something that she really talked about. It was that I would watch her the way that she was generous with people with like whatever it was, you know.
But I think that's the best way. I mean, if you can, what they say, you can take the horse to the river, but you can make him drink. But when they watch, you can't force, just drill. But when you set up the example, same thing for me with my daughter. My parents, like I said, anybody who come in, hey, come on in. We just fixed the meat. And some people be shy, like, I just barely know you. Oh, come on, sit down.
Right.
And now I'm the same. She understands that so by example, that's the only way I think to teach somebody is show them.
Yes. Right. That's the best way to teach children.
I think so.
And yeah, and be consistent, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion, because you could be saying one thing and then doing something else,
That's the worst.
which also happens. Would you say that were there any other family members in your life when you were very young that you considered to be like, were you very close with them, or was it just your inner
My
circle?
sisters are so close. We are total. I mean, we are same household, same mom, same dad. We grew up in the same. We share the room. We are opposite personality, but we all honestly. I mean, if you want to kill me or punish me, make me dust. But I can sit 24 hours cook, no problem, love it. She's the opposite. She's a doctor. Her refrigerator will have maybe some fruit and some cheese. My dad one time said, even the cockroaches, and I doubt there is any in her apartment because she's so clean. He said the cockroaches were holding a white flag that they couldn't walking, demonstrating because they had no food in her. And on the other hand, I have 3 refrigerators. Each one has spices, one have cheese, and one have food. And but I can't. I mean, I have to dust because I have to dust, but it's not. But at the same time, we both are so compassionate and have empathy for everything. And she's a power. She's a small. I mean, I'm 5'2", she's 5.
Wow, your sister's 5 feet?
Yeah, but you don't feel it because she's so powerful when she believes in something. I mean, she won't budge, and I admire that. I admire that so much because sometimes for me, I wanna, I say, okay, I'll compromise. Nope, not her.
Hmm.
Even if it's going to lose, she's going to lose this. That's her what she believes. She's not going to compromise. I mean, for me, sometimes I don't want to hurt her feeling. If something no important, I say, come on, nope, not for her. That's it. She said her word, so I admire that. I'm not that strong.
Yeah, you're pretty strong.
I am, but I mean, she's like for her. Oh God, and she has her. Who does this? Me, I made my decision. It's fine.
She's like, I can't even do it like that.
I know. In the middle, okay, conversation ended.
Oh, but that's nice. What's the year difference between you two?
I'm 2 years older. I'm the oldest. Then she came 2 years later, and so she's a middle child. Then the boy came, which is a male. Uh, First male is very popular in the Middle East. He carry the name of the family, so he
Right.
he can. So poor Wafa, her name is Wafa. This means faithful forever.
Faithful
She was in the,
forever.
she was between the first child, and it was very the first child. So they love you everything, and then you have the first male. So she's between. So she was rebellious. I think that's why she became so feisty. So she put herself between these two people, myself and my brother.
Right. Yeah. Wafa, right? Is her name Wafa?
Faithful, I mean faithful
Faithful
forever.
forever. And then your name means
The
sunbeam.
sunbeam when it's cloudy and they come between them. So I'm sunbeam.
That's beautiful. I love that. And your dad named you. I also love that, that your father named you. Yeah. I have two younger sisters. I mean, we're alike in some ways, but in some ways we're not. I think I'm the oldest also. So, and I left. Like I left. I came back, but I left and walked my own journey. I think that I would probably say of all the females in my family, I'm probably most like a combination between myself, right? And then my mother, and then also my great aunt, my grandmother's sister on my father's side. She and I, her daughter, she's passed away, but her daughter and I are very close. She could be my mother, so I consider her like my aunt. And she'll always say to me, you remind me a lot of her. You're more like her than I am. And she was my mother. So it's interesting how it kind of skips a generation, and not necessarily through your parents, but yeah, yeah. Would you say that I know that you came here in your 20s, did you befriend women that were older than you that you considered to be like mentors when you were here? Because it was a huge cultural shift when you came here.
I mean, I had other female friends. Uh, we, um, when you're immigrant, you try attract people from your own country or your own culture because you're more comfortable with them for the reason that they understand you when you say, uh, I do this, or in the morning I do this, or I sing this song. So through I had a lot of female friends, but a mentor, not really. I was a geek. I just read and applying for universities. We cooked a lot, so a lot of my friends older than me, a little bit older than me. I just cooked with them. I mean, I love all my friends. I don't know if they see it in the. I love them all, but mentor wise, I always looked up to my mother, and she was such a strong woman in the Middle East. Which for me, that's what I admire. It's a male dominated culture. Of course, my dad was supportive. But she still was like, love that. I mean, here is acceptable, is doable. For her, she proved herself in our Middle Eastern culture and in a village, which is the harder.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I always wanted, my mom. Whenever I did anything, I would call them. My mom first, and then she give me the phone to my dad, tell them what I did. So always the phone call, because my sister left to Europe to study medicine. So my phone calls, the weekly phone calls was whatever I do. Even now, they passed. So I think my mom stayed that is throughout going in America. I mean, like I said, I have a friend, but she stayed my mentor.
Right.
She
Yeah.
she was to a point when I first year, first 6 months, it was so lonesome in America, because we had a strong family, and all of a sudden I'm by myself. I haven't made a lot of friends, so I called, and I thought, she's my mother. She said, can I come back? And she said, no. I mean, she's my mother, and she missed me. She said, you wanted to go to America to prove yourself. You don't come back until you prove yourself. That's how strong she is.
I love that.
Yeah. So had she said yes, now in Syria, married with, I don't know, you know, but because she said no, you wanted to go to America, you stick with what you did.
And it's a good thing
Yeah.
you did.
Oh, absolutely. But like I said, it was one phone call. I got the message. No way, Jose, you're coming back until you get your master's degree.
Finish what you started.
When you started, you want to go to America to finish graduate school, well, you better stay there and finish your graduate school. Even though I know she was crying. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I I had more mentors in like my 20s that were not family members. I had my friend Betty. I've told you about my friend Betty. She passed away. She was over 100. And then there was also another woman, Linnea. Especially Betty. Betty, I wanted to find a different spiritual path that was more suited to me than what I was raised in. And when I met Betty, I knew. I was like, she came up to me while I was working with another client, and I knew that this woman was going to be a very important person in my life. I knew that she had something. She had a lot of things for me. It turned out to be an over 30-year friendship. And she
That's
was
wonderful.
70. Yeah, she was 70 when I met her, and I was 25. I always wanted it. Like I always wanted mentors. I always wanted people to look up to, you know, and I got them. I got a lot of them. And
Whether it's your mom or any female in your life, it will be wonderful for anybody to have a mentor that make you, okay, no, you stay here. I'm here for you.
yeah,
Let's help you going.
yeah.
Help you, because you're secure that you have somebody have your back.
And actually, one of my greatest teachers, mentors, is a male, and he
Yeah.
really was very instrumental in my life. Yeah, Pandit Rajmani Tiganayat. And then actually, as I became more of an adult, my mother and I got closer. It was really beautiful for us to be that close. When I was coming into a different stage of womanhood, I was
Yeah.
I feel very thankful for that, especially now because she's not accessible, with the Alzheimer's, which
Yeah.
is, it's, I miss my friend.
Yeah. I understand.
I
I
miss her.
understand totally.
To have her be
Yeah.
alive and not accessible is, I mean, I've gotten over the grief, but every once in a while, I just want to pick up the phone and call her, you know, and
Uh,
I can't do that.
we kept my parents' home. We kept the phone. So every once in a while I pick up the phone and call. Nobody answered, but I do.
They still have the phone at the house?
Yeah. We decided, all the siblings, I mean, it's a beautiful home. It's on the Mediterranean. My mom loved gardening. My dad loved gardening too. I mean, so we decide anybody who travel to see it can stay there, and then our kids can have it. It's their grandfather's home, and my brother live upstairs, so he can maintain the garden and everything. So we decided to just leave it. So anybody who wants to go is right there. So the phone, everything as is. We have somebody who go inside and clean it. So it's,
Right.
but yeah. So
Um,
because I used to call her every Sunday. So now I still do. Nobody answer, but I still do.
aw,
Yeah, it's okay.
that's sweet. I like that. And so, do you think that what was it like for you when you had Alia, your daughter? Because she's in her 20s now, right?
She's 27. Actually, even my mom told me, "Oh my God, I gave you all this." So I did with her same like my mom. I was like the tough mom. Oh my God, because my mom was like tough, very disciplinary, with love. I mean, so um, like I said, I gave you an example. She won't let me go back to Syria because I wanted to. But even growing up, when we had our home, we come from school, she didn't know math. I mean, she studied until she is high school, and then she quit because she loved my dad. Married anyway, but her math was never. She loved reading, but her math wasn't. But we had no idea. So she would say, "No, what's your schedule?" She has, and today is math. Okay, show me your homework, and she would look like she knows what I'm doing. Geography, and she would let me recite, and if I don't know anything, she ripped literally. If there is any, if if the homework done just fast, without paying attention, beautiful handwriting. Like I have beautiful handwriting, and Alia has even stunning handwriting. Because my mom would look, say, "Are you happy with it?" And I say, "I'm done." "You're happy with it?" So you should take it. And can you imagine when you after you finish your homework and your parents just repeat? I did this. I did the same to Alia.
Did? Oh my gosh.
You never realize what you take. But so Alia learned from the beginning. Either you do it from the first time correctly, because same like my parents. They said, do your homework, study, and then do whatever you want. So I did exactly with Alia. She comes home from kindergarten, take a snack, watch SpongeBob. Yep. And then she sit down, does all her homework, everything. And say, "You're done?" Say, "Yes, I check everything." "Okay, do whatever you want." So then she had really, really good habit. She always did her homework. I mean, that's why she became a very good student, because, she knew I don't, do it correctly first time. Don't, and again. And, but I, in a way that she wasn't afraid to tell me if something bad happened until now. So that's the same from my mom. I confided everything for her because she didn't judge. Even she approved, but she didn't judge. I listen, and say, "Oh, okay." And then 2 days later, I would say, I ran into Val, and she, her be feeling her hurt. Maybe the way you said it. So I got her without, So I learned a lot. Exactly like my mom. Jim used to go. I used to drive Jim crazy because I was so disciplined with Alia. Especially she's in American culture. We were both older parents. He really want to spoil her, not me. And sometimes he would leave the house when I say, "No, you have to practice piano." "Let's practice piano time." And she like practicing. And Jim say, "Okay." He would leave the house because he wants to just hug her and let her play. Yeah. No, I know. I mean, that's why for him, it's like a love of a grandchild.
He was,
And
yeah, he was. What was the age difference between you and Jim?
27 years. But when he had his first children, he was an engineer while he studied. He was a bartender while he's studying to be a lawyer, and 3 kids. And so he never really had time to enjoy them.
Right.
And then when I had Alia, he was 60. And he was a lawyer, he was a politician. He had time to really enjoy his childhood and everything. And so, I mean, he didn't tell me, he never, "Don't discipline her," but sometimes he say, "You're too tough. Come on." But then when she became older, and she was really a very kind, that's one thing I taught her: compassion. So she's very kind, very disciplined. Oh my God, she's as disciplined as my sister. That's from my sister. Oh my God. He started telling everybody. He said, when they say, "Oh, Aliet, also you're so proud of her," he would say, "I give the credit to Sanaa." So
What did he say? What would he say?
I give the credit to Sanaa. He raised her well. Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You taught her discipline, but you also let her be her own person. You were like, once you're done with that, then you can do whatever you want. And like, she's pretty well adjusted, I think.
Because I was that also with my mom, with my parents. I was like the perfect child, studying, the perfect grades, never even looked at the boy. I just give me time to read. My mom said I rebelled when I met Jim and married him.
You what?
That's when she said, "You were 35 when you first rebelled," because I met Jim, and I insist marrying Jim, with all the age difference and everything. So I still have time to rebel.
That's true. Maybe,
Yeah.
but she won't have to. Maybe she
No,
won't have to.
yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I listen. She is a very kind human being, and that's enough for me.
Right. And you get along so well. That's a
Mhm.
nice thing. When mother and daughters, especially as adults, I think it's really beautiful when mother and daughters can connect in a different way. It becomes more than just a mother and daughter. It becomes, this is my friend, and she's
Yeah,
my mother, and
she's
she's
my
my mother.
no, sorry, she's my best traveling companion.
Your best
Yeah,
traveling companion. That's
I
nice.
even told her that even when she get married, she has to live 1 week for me to travel together alone.
Alone.
We'll see. We'll see.
I think she'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes if you have kids, I mean, that's become unreasonable of me
That's what a
until they,
husband's for. Take care of the kids. I gotta go hang out with my mom for a week.
yeah,
I mean, I'm sure she won't leave them if she's breastfeeding, but
yeah.
she's
No, no. I mean, as a whenever we travel, I say, remember, you have to leave 1 week for me. She hates when I do this.
1 week for me.
At least 1 week. I
Yeah,
don't want to be greedy.
yeah. Do you I I've been finding myself because when I was younger, I loved being friends with people. I had friends that were my age, but I really enjoyed spending time with people that were much older than I was. It's
I do
still
too.
that way.
Me too. But by the way, for me, men, everybody will tease me. I love the friendship with older men. And that's actually our magic because I love the friendship with older. I always was attentive, listening. I think boys my age were like, talking soccer for us, soccer in the Middle East.
Boring.
I don't know, I wasn't interested, but then, I would go to the other room and then I'm listening to my dad and his friend talking about politics, history, and that's what attracted me. So even my first crush was 20 years older than me. He was my dad's friend.
You told me about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, yeah, I would say, yeah, I've dated more older males than I have males my age, but it's different now because now I'm older. So now, hopefully, the males that are closer to my age
I don't
are
know. I mean,
interesting.
yeah,
Some of them,
yeah. Some of them are. Some of them are.
some of them are, some of them are not. And I've noticed what I'm having now is younger women that want to be friends with me, which is lovely
Mhm.
because they're young enough to be my daughters. Do you find yourself attracting younger women?
Especially like in the restaurant, they call me the mom sometimes. Some of my customers, some of my staff, they call me mama. So I'm like the mama. Um, so like I said, I love strong, independent women. So whenever I see most of my young customers, they grew up in the restaurant. Their parents brought them to me, and they stopped coming after they even when they leave to college. Whenever they go, come summertime, they stop by to say hello. So when any of them say, "Oh, I applied for a job. I'm not sure I'm good enough to apply," immediately I would switch on the mom. So what do you mean? You cannot undersell yourself. And they always say, "Thank you, thank you." After we talk for a long time, they say, "Oh God, thank you. You made me feel like I can." I said, "Of course you can do it. Let anybody let you know that you can do it." No, no, no. So I become like the not the mentor, but I became like there's cheerleaders. So they like that.
Yeah, but it is kind of, there is some mentorship because you are wiser and you are more experienced in life.
Yeah,
And I think, you know,
yeah. But I mean, I mean, I'd be flattered. But definitely, immediately they would, and they would say, "Can I sit with you for a while?" I said, "Absolutely." Then I sit with them, then have a cup of tea, and they tell me what they're doing, and I say, "Yeah, no, 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 you have to do this. You can do it." And I said, "Text me. Anytime you feel down, especially you know how many now we have a whole epidemic of loneliness in America. So I will say, call anybody, call me if you're feeling bad, call me. I'm text me. So just to live there and give them some. I don't want to say hope, but I mean they know that you can. There's somebody there thinking of them. They can help them.
right.
Yeah. So I'm friends with the parents, and then I'm friends with the kids.
Yeah. That's a nice feeling. Sorry, my desk is shaking. I just knocked
Yeah, you should
into
see
it.
how
Yeah.
many books I have to have at my level with my high. I have 4 art books on top of each other to have my eyes level.
So eyes are level. Yeah. I am. Yeah, I definitely. But I still like it. I have to say, even though I'm now in a position where I can be the mother of a lot of the young people that I meet.
I can be the
They,
grandma. When they say my grandmother is 60, in my mind, I'm thinking, "Well, I'm older than your grandma."
yeah,
I'm, and you have the, whenever you have the young spirit,
right.
I think they're more comfortable when they see you. You know you're old. They know you're older, but you understand them, and you're moving. Because sometimes I know from myself when I saw my grandmother getting frail, I would start getting nervous because in the back mind you're thinking she's coming closer to lose her.
Right.
So when the young kids see you, you're their mother age, your grandmother's age, but you're relating and you know the music and they see you dancing, then they really want to talk to you and confide in you.
Yeah. Because you're relatable. You
Mm-hmm.
can
Yeah,
relate to them. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then
that's
whenever they come,
important.
yeah, I think so. And you notice, you pay attention. Like I say immediately, hey, did you cut your hair? I love it. How about the hair? Oh, you notice? Oh, thank you. Do you like it? I say, yeah, absolutely. They love it.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, we all need it, right? We all need to feel like we're being seen.
Being seen, exactly. Very good. Yes,
Yeah, that
yes.
we're being and heard, being seen and heard. I was speaking to someone, it might have been you actually, that I was talking to, either you or one of my aunts. I was talking about um, how far things have come, even just in this country, like even not too long ago in the 60s and the 70s, women couldn't have credit cards or a bank account without a man, and
Yeah,
look where we are now. Look where we are now. There
yeah.
are
I could.
women that are, there's so much going on in the world of women right now. And yet, when you and I talked about Jim, your husband, um, you two were a team. Like Jim seemed to really value, even though there was a huge generational gap between you, and we could look back and see men from that generation, like most of them did not have the kind of reverence for women that Jim had.
See, I'm lucky because the 2 men who influenced my life. I mean, my siblings are fantastic. But even my dad. I mean, you have to remember, my dad grew up orphan, poor, in a village in the time when the Turks just left Syria and when the French just left Syria. So, but still, he believed in women education. So I'm here because of my dad's belief in me too, believe in women education. And for him to trust me enough to send me all the way to America, there was no app, there is no direct phone. I had to call New York operator. Operator had to call Damascus operator. Damascus operator had to call the Tartus operator. So I had to go 4 operators. By the time I get to my family, I can barely hear them. But my dad, stood by me, by my sister. So I'm in that way. I'm very lucky. And then for him to accept me marrying Jim, different country, different religion, we divorced twice, even though my dad didn't know. He only knew of 1 divorce. And then the age difference. So I mean, by all of that, for my dad was like exceptional man in my life. And then with Jim believed also, he would say anything, at the end, he would say, I'm Sanaa's husband. How many men will say, you know, oh, are you Senator Abourezk? He said, no, no, no. I used to be Senator Abourezk. I'm Sanaa's husband. And he was just laughing.
I used to be Senator Abourezk. Now I'm
Yeah, because
Sana's husband.
walking to the people walking the restaurant and, they recognize him, say, oh, are you Senator Abourezk? Say, I used to be, but now I'm Sanaa's husband. And, when I said I want to open the restaurant, he you were just talking about women. I couldn't get a loan, so he co-signed the loan for me, so I can get the restaurant. And he told me later that even if I failed, he wanted to support me, and that was a big decision. If I know I took big loan, but he stood by it, no problem. I wanted to go to France to do baking. We were newly married. He said, "Go for it." Went to Italy. He said, "Go for it." Some men say, "Hell, we just get married. Come on, what are you doing?" No,
Right.
no.
He was like, no.
Yeah.
Did he
I
go
won't
with
do
you?
this. To Paris, no. He was a big fan of Italy. So to Italy, he went with us. So he stayed in the hotel until the meal is ready. Then he will call him, come and eat and go back.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then and most important thing Jim taught me when he told me Eleanor Roosevelt is nobody belittle you unless you give them your permission.
Eleanor Roosevelt. Is that it?
He told me that, and I never forgot it.